Okay. So, you have a fear of dogs, so we are going to do something called systematic desensitization, which is very successful at a 90% success rate. And the purpose of this is we're going to target your behavior, which is anxiety when interacting with dogs. Specifically your girlfriend's dog, Clementine. So basically we're going to treat this by facing our fears through exposure. So the purpose is, like, basically your fear of dogs has caused you to associate anxiety with dogs. And so we're going to learn some relaxation techniques and training to help you associate calmness and relaxation with dogs rather than the anxiety. Does that make sense? So our first step in doing this is to create an anxiety hierarchy, which is basically a list of steps ranking from 1 to 10 of your stimulus, which is fighting, phobia of dogs. And basically the steps is going to go from 1 to 10, with 1 being something that you can tolerate right now in this moment, and 10 being something that gives you like anxiety through the roof. So we're going to do this gradually, not to be concerned or overwhelmed, and then we're going to make up plans in terms of how we're going to handle being exposed to these. So basically, just like you learn to have anxiety with dogs, you're going to learn to not have anxiety with dogs. Does that make sense?
I guess, yes.
So this can help you. Basically, this is like threefold of how it's going to help you. It's going to help you verbalize your problem. You're going to put it down in words, and you're going to come up with a plan, a treatment plan of how we're going to treat this problem, which might just give you ease in general, because it gives you a clear idea of how you're going to handle the situation or your anxiety, and then we're going to systematically approach it. So let's start by coming up with a list, and it can be, it might start off being like more items than 10, or it could be less. No, it should definitely be 10 items, but it could be more. So it could start like very mild. Like, someone saying dog, does that give you anxiety, or is that something that you can tolerate right in this moment? Just someone mentioning a dog.
Like in a story or something? Right.
Yeah, like in a conversation, like I'm talking about walking my dog, or if someone just says dog, like, is that something that you can tolerate in this moment, or is that give you anxiety?
I mean, if someone just says dog, it doesn't really give me anxiety.
Okay. What about, so that's something we can tolerate right now. What about looking at a picture of a dog? Does that give you anxiety?
It can, depending on the dog.
Okay, so if the dog is friendly, does it give you anxiety, or if it's aggressive, it gives you anxiety?
If it's big.
If it's big. Okay, so the size of the dog matters. Okay, so looking at a picture of a dog doesn't give you anxiety, but a large dog does.
Yes.
Okay, so looking at a picture of a large dog. What about looking at a picture of a friendly, medium-sized dog?
I'm okay with that.
That's something you can tolerate right now. What about your girlfriend's dog? Is it looking at a picture of Clementine, does that give you anxiety?
I'd say it's in between the two.
Okay. 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 What about something that gives you like 60% anxiety?
I'm gonna feed the dog or give it a treat.
Giving the dog a treat. Okay. So that, what about 40% anxiety?
Being in the room with the dog.
Being in the room with the dog. Leashed or
With her or leashed.
Okay, so with your girlfriend present or leashed.
Mm-hmm.
So unleashed would be
Like 50, I guess.
more anxiety than being in the room with her.
Yeah.
Unleashed. Okay.
Unleashed or alone.
Unleashed or alone. And that is like 90% anxiety, or is that like
It's about 50.
50? So what's 100?
Getting bit by the dog.
Getting bit by the dog. What about something that gives you, you know, kind of less anxiety? Is that like something like the dog being in another room with you there?
Yeah. It definitely does. It's less
Than being in the same room as the
Yeah.
dog? Yeah. What about you handling the dog, like interacting, besides giving him a treat, because we already said that would give you a lot of anxiety. What about, do you think that walking him on a leash would give you less anxiety than having the dog around in the room, or?
If I was the one walking him, I'd say I'd have more anxiety.
Okay. What else? What do you think would give you like 67%? 60 to 70%? What do you think is in that range?
I guess just being startled by the dog.
Okay, so like if the dog barks,
Yeah.
that's like more stressful than walking the dog on a leash, or is that less stressful?
Less.
Less
but
stressful?
Still up there.
Okay, so
'Cause if I'm
dog
walking
barking.
the dog on the leash, it's like I have double the fear in that, you know, that there's a dog itself, but there's also that, you know, in my fear I'll let go of the leash or something or whatever.
Okay, and you think if you let go of the leash, like,
But what if something happens to the dog?
okay. Okay. So you're worried about the dog. So you like dogs.
Well, I'm worried about the effect the dog, something like that would have on my girlfriend.
Got it. So
You know,
you're
she loves the dog. I'm trying to get comfortable with the dog because I love her, and she's loves me, so she's working with me with this.
Okay.
So I feel like I was letting her down if I, you know, something
If
would
something
happen
happened to
her.
the dog,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that makes sense. What about you mentioned children?
Yeah,
Is that why you're afraid of the dog?
yeah. I was bit when I was a kid.
Okay, so it's a very
So like,
real fear that you have.
Yeah.
You know, there's some, you know, some actual tangible evidence as to why you have this fear of being attacked.
the dog's good with kids. I actually feel better when the dog is around with kids.
Okay, so being present in the dog, with the dog and children.
And seeing how good the dog is with children, like, helps me differentiate between what happened to me and what this situation is.
Okay, so I think, you know, we can write being in the presence of the dog with children.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How do you feel listing this stuff out? Do you think we can get rid of some of them? Do you think,
I mean, I think the things that can be worked with and given time should become easier.
okay.
I just gotta expose myself more and be comfortable with getting afraid sometimes.
What do you think, what is it that you're scared is going to happen?
Getting bit, or getting freaked out.
Getting freaked out. Has Clementine ever bit anyone?
No,
Okay. Is she a trained dog?
well trained,
Very well trained?
very well trained.
Okay.
She's a good dog.
So she's never attacked anybody that you know of?
No, but she can be protective.
Okay. Maybe she can be protective of you.
Right, maybe one point in time, but right now she's protective over her.
Do you think that she could learn to be protective over you and protect you from aggressive dogs?
I think that is a reasonable thing, yeah. It's definitely in the realm of possibilities.
Okay. How do you feel, what else do you feel about this list? Do you feel confident? Do you feel scared?
I mean, I feel better looking at it all and kind of putting it in perspective.
Do you think that this is something that we could do over time?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, just being aware of the situation and what's triggering what feelings or emotions and how to deal with them.
Okay. Is there anything, so let's number this. Is there anything, right now we have 11 items, which is great. Is there anything that we can get rid of that you think?
I guess maybe being in the room with my girlfriend present.
How about looking at a picture of a small dog?
I think so.
Let's see. And then let's number this. And then getting bit by a dog is definitely number 10.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at a picture of Clementine is definitely something we can tolerate right now.
Yep.
But, so that should be number 1.
Okay.
So we have 1 and 10. And then, you mentioned that the dog being present in another room gives you 50% anxiety. So that should definitely be number 5.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that, and then we have the 20%, which is looking at a picture of a large dog. So that's something that gives you a little anxiety, but is the next step.
Mm-hmm.
And then the dog being presence of kids. And the dog being present in another room could be 3 and 4.
Yeah.
And then your girlfriend present is definitely 60%.
Mm-hmm.
And then your girlfriend not present should be, the next step.
Yeah.
And then there's the treat and the barking and the walking the dog on the leash. So where do you want to number those?
7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay. And then getting bit is number
Yeah.
10. Okay. So you feel confident that, and just so you know, I know you're scared that you're going to get bit by the dog, but which is, likely, could possibly happen again in your future, but just because, let's go through the list and let's keep checking in as we go through the numbers, and let's see if that's actually what happens.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.